What if I told you that absolutely no one stands above you? That the only real barrier between you and success is the way you see yourself? It might sound crazy, right? But that's exactly what sets apart the rare few who make it from the vast majority who get lost along the way. If you've ever felt stuck, doubted your own potential, or believed that success is reserved only for those who are lucky or well-connected, then this message is meant just for you. Have you ever stopped to wonder what really makes some people reach such extraordinary levels of success, while others spend their entire lives wishing, dreaming, and never quite getting there? Let me share with you a truth you might never have heard so bluntly before. What separates those who succeed from those who don't isn't luck, talent, or opportunity. It's desire. A desire so fierce, so burning, so deep in the gut that it becomes impossible not to turn it into reality. Napoleon Hill called this the starting point of all achievement, and he knew what he was talking about because he spent more than 20 years closely studying the wealthiest people in history. Most people confuse desire with simple wanting. They want to be wealthy, they want a better life, they want freedom, but their wanting is lukewarm, shallow. It's an "it would be nice if it happened" kind of wish. And those who live waiting for fortune to knock on their door end up waiting forever. The ones who reach the top are the ones who turn that desire into an obsession, the kind of idea that keeps them awake at night, that makes them get up earlier, work while others rest, study when no one's watching, and refuse to live anything less than the life they know they deserve. If you think this sounds like empty, motivational talk, let me give you a real example. Thomas Edison, the man who created the electric light bulb, failed more than 1,000 times before he finally succeeded. Can you imagine what it means to fail over 1,000 times and keep going? When someone asked him why he never gave up, his answer was simple: because his desire to see it happen was greater than any failure. His desire wasn't casual, it was an obsession. Now let me ask you a question. What is your burning desire? And don't say to be rich, to be happy, or to be successful. That's too vague. What goal makes your heart beat faster just thinking about it? What idea sends shivers down your spine just by imagining it coming true? If you can't answer that right now, that already explains a lot about your life, because that's exactly where the invisible fuel that drives real achievers' lives. Napoleon Hill lived this himself. When he was young, he was a poor journalist, without connections, with no clear future. But when he interviewed Andrew Carnegie, he was told that if he wanted to change his life and help millions, he needed to investigate and document the laws of success. And Carnegie presented him with a challenge. He wouldn't pay him a single dollar for it, but he would open the doors to the greatest American fortunes if Hill accepted. Any reasonable person would have turned it down. No salary, no guarantees, but Hill said yes because, at that moment, the desire to change his life and leave his mark on history exploded inside him. And he chased that goal obsessively for the next 20 years. A study done by the Dominican University of California proved what Hill had already discovered a century earlier. People who write their goals down clearly have about 42% higher chances of reaching them. Why? Because when you write your desire down, it stops being a vague thought and becomes a commitment. And commitment changes behavior. If you're waiting to feel motivated, forget it. Motivation is not what comes first. It is the natural result of having a burning desire. You must discover that one thing that stirs your soul so deeply it pushes you to get out of bed on the days you feel exhausted, to keep going when no one believes in you, and to persist when absolutely everything seems to fall apart. Because it will fall apart. That much is guaranteed. Challenges will show up. But that burning desire is what turns failures into lessons and turns each stumble into another step forward. And let me tell you this, If you are listening to these words right now and realize you do not feel such a desire, do not panic. Sit down, take a piece of paper and a pen and ask yourself, what would I do for the rest of my life, even if no one paid me, just for the sheer thrill of feeling alive? And write. Keep writing. Do not stop until something makes your breathing shift, until you feel that spark inside your chest. That is your starting point. The difference between those who change their lives and those who spend a lifetime watching others win is exactly that. Some people discover early on what they truly want with all their heart. Others, lost in what society insists they should want, spend decade after decade without truly meeting themselves. And someone who does not know what they want ends up accepting whatever shows up. Now I want you to pause and reflect with me. How many times have you set aside something you deeply wanted just because it seemed too hard? How many times have you traded a dream for what felt safe? How many ideas died of fear before you even tried? This is the moment to stop that cycle. A burning desire is exactly this, deciding that this time you refuse to settle for less, that no matter how many years it might take, you will get there. Because it is no longer just a whim, it becomes the only life that truly feels right to you. And for anyone who thinks this sounds like an exaggeration, remember that the greatest visionaries in history were driven by that exact same feeling. Whether it was in business, art, sports, or science, every single one of them carried a desire so fierce it could not be ignored. And if today you still do not feel it, perhaps it is because you never had the courage to truly ask yourself, what do I want so much that I would be willing to fail 1,000 times to make it real? Because once you discover that answer, you cannot stop. And that is the moment your life truly changes. How many times in your life have you stood in front of a mirror and doubted yourself? Have you caught yourself thinking you might not be good enough, not truly capable, or that you might not even deserve everything you dream about? Everyone has felt that way at some point. But there is a huge difference between the person who feels this doubt and stops, and the one who feels it but decides to keep going anyway. That difference has a name: faith. Not blind faith, not simply religious faith, but a deep, unshakable belief in yourself that no matter what happens, you will find a way. Napoleon Hill would repeat endlessly, what the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But pay attention to that second part, believe, because anyone can imagine and wish. We daydream, we picture it, we want it. But to truly believe, especially when times get hard, when no one around supports you, when results refuse to show up, when life hits you hardest, that is when the few are separated from the many. That kind of faith is not something you are born with. It is something you choose and nurture every single day. Because if you leave your mind running on autopilot, it will feed you doubts, fears, and insecurities. It will try to convince you that the safest path is to give up. And if you buy into that belief, guess what? That will become your reality. You need to understand that your mind is like a mirror. It reflects to the world the image you hold inside yourself, and the world reflects it right back at you. If you doubt, the world answers with disregard. If you hesitate, doors begin to close. But if you truly believe, if you carry yourself like someone who knows deep down they were born to win, doors begin to open in places that once seemed utterly impossible. This isn't some cheap motivational talk. A study released by the American Psychological Association revealed that people with a strong belief in their own abilities, what researchers call self-efficacy, not only persist longer in the face of adversity, but also achieve better outcomes, even when they're technically less qualified for the task at hand. In other words, believing counts for more than skill alone. Think with me for a moment. How many people do you know who have less talent than you, less preparation, less intelligence, yet they're achieving far greater results simply because they chose to believe. And how many times have you sabotaged yourself, turning down an opportunity because you thought you weren't ready? The real difference between them and you has been faith, not the circumstances, not luck, not skill. Henry Ford, one of the greatest industrialists in history, was laughed at when he declared he would create a car affordable for the average person. Back then, cars were nothing more than playthings for millionaires. But Ford believed so fiercely in his vision that even without support, he built the Model T, transformed the market, and changed the way the world travels. He had no guarantees. What he had was faith, and that faith moved an entire industry. And do you know who else lived this? Napoleon Hill. For years, while writing Think and Grow Rich, he faced deep poverty, was threatened, lost family members, and went hungry. Many friends told him he was wasting his life chasing an impossible idea, saying that nobody would ever buy a self-help book in the middle of the Great Depression. But Hill chose to believe. And that choice changed his life and the lives of millions who came after. Let me tell you something that hardly anyone dares to say. You will never feel completely ready. Never. No matter how much you study, prepare, or plan. Fear will still be there, doubt will whisper in your ear, and then you'll have two choices: let it stop you or choose to act anyway. That's when faith is proven. Not when everything is going well, but when everything seems to be falling apart. When your account balance shows negative, when the project falls through, when you hear rejection after rejection, when everyone disappears. It's in those moments that giants reveal themselves, because contrary to what you might think, success isn't reserved for those who never feel fear. It's for those who feel it and still act despite it. And if you want real advice, start building that faith today. Every morning, look yourself in the mirror and declare who you are and where you're going. It might feel silly at first. A voice deep down might ask, "Who do you think you are?" And that's exactly when you answer, "I am who I decide to be." Bet on yourself when no one else will. And if today you don't see any reason to believe, believe simply because you choose to. Because those who wait for certainty never get anywhere. Do this exercise. Imagine right now how you would act if you were absolutely sure that everything would work out. How would you speak? How would you carry yourself? What decisions would you make? What pitch would you deliver? What idea would you launch? Because someone who holds that certainty within already moves with a different energy. And energy is magnetic. The great winners of this world don't wait for anyone's approval. They create their own validation. They impose their faith on the world until the world has no choice but to acknowledge them. Are you still going to wait for someone else to tell you that you can, or will you finally start deciding that for yourself? Because at the end of the day, the kind of faith that truly changes lives is the one you plant deep inside, water every single day, and turn into action long before anyone else believes it. And when you do that, everything shifts. Have you ever stopped to notice just how much the people around you shape who you're becoming? It's subtle. You don't even realize it. But slowly, the conversations you overhear, the opinions people throw at you, those casual comments about money, success, who makes it and who doesn't, all of that seeps into your mind like tiny seeds. And if you're not careful, those seeds grow deep roots that end up defining your limits, your beliefs, and especially your standard for ambition. Napoleon Hill uncovered this truth more than 100 years ago. He realized that none of the successful people he interviewed got there completely alone. Without exception, all of them were part of groups, environments, and circles of influence where there simply wasn't room for mediocrity. Hill called this concept the mastermind, a gathering of minds aligned toward growth, ambition, and a refusal to settle for less. And this isn't some motivational theory, it's a proven part of human behavior. In 2009, a study from Harvard Medical School showed that a person's emotions, behaviors, and even levels of happiness are directly shaped by the people they spend time with in ways that might surprise you. If you spend too much time around negative people who always complain and see problems everywhere, your brain starts adapting to that pattern. It begins to see it as normal, and once normal becomes your standard, you stop questioning, stop dreaming big, and stop feeling bothered by settling for less. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine spending every single day surrounded by people who think big, people who talk about opportunities, businesses, projects, ideas, ways to improve and ways to reinvent themselves. It becomes nearly impossible for you to stay stuck because their energy pulls you upward. They help you see possibilities that once felt completely out of reach. If right now you feel stuck, like you're caught in a loop of sameness, take a look around. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Are they people who celebrate your wins, or people who laugh when you share an ambitious plan? Are they people who dream alongside you, or people who constantly remind you of every risk? Because whether you admit it or not, you're becoming the average of those people. And this is so powerful that Napoleon Hill used to say, if you don't have a mastermind, you're sabotaging yourself. Because no matter how strong your mind might be, the right or wrong environment will still shape you. A classic example is Henry Ford. He made a point to meet regularly with Thomas Edison and other innovators of his era. Why? Because even though he was one of the most powerful men in the world, he knew he couldn't surround himself with flatterers or pessimists. He needed people who would challenge his thinking. Can you see how crucial this is? If even billionaires and historical geniuses understood the need to stay close to people who were better, smarter, and bolder, who are we to ignore that principle? And the mistake so many people make is thinking they don't have access to those kinds of people. But today, with a single click, you can follow the thoughts of brilliant minds. Books, videos, podcasts, social media. If you can't be around them in person, then feed yourself with that environment virtually. Here is a detail that hardly anyone mentions. Just as important as getting closer to people who lift you up is strategically distancing yourself from those who drag you down. This does not mean ending relationships in a dramatic way. It means setting boundaries, filtering conversations, spending less time with those who only know how to complain, because if you allow it, their negative energy will infect you. Try this exercise. Think right now of 3 people you deeply admire, real or not, but who inspire you. Start to consume their content. Study the way they think, how they react, how they plan, how they make decisions. Let those voices begin to occupy more space in your mind than the mediocre voices around you. Napoleon Hill once shared that when he faced severe financial difficulties while writing Think and Grow Rich, it was precisely by talking to people more visionary than himself that he regained clarity. He met with business owners, writers, and investors, not to ask for money, but to listen to ideas, strengthen his spirit, and keep alive the certainty that he was on the right path. Had he isolated himself or listened to pessimists, the book would never have been written. And for you who are hearing this now, the message is simple. Either you consciously choose who will shape your destiny, or the environment will choose it for you. And spoiler alert, if you leave it on autopilot, the environment will push you toward mediocrity. Decide who you will surround yourself with. Invest in relationships that lift you up. Create your own chain of positive and visionary energy. And if today you do not have anyone like that close by, start building it. Because from the moment you put yourself in motion, people and opportunities begin to appear. It has always been this way. It always will be. The greatest trap that keeps people away from the life they want is not lack of ability, money, or opportunity. It is hesitation, the inability to decide. The habit of waiting for the right moment, ideal conditions, absolute certainty that everything will work out before taking action. And I will tell you something you might need to hear right now. Even if it hurts, the right moment never comes, and those who wait too long fall behind. Napoleon Hill made this clearer than any other author before him. In his interviews with the great American millionaires, he found that the most obvious trait among them was the ability to decide quickly and change their minds slowly. While most people pondered, calculated, asked for opinions, and waited for approval, those who reached the top were the ones who hammered the nail, made a decision, and went into action, even without knowing if it would work. And the most interesting thing is that statistically, the most decisive people fail just as much as the indecisive ones. The difference, they fail while moving. And because of that, they learn faster, adapt better, and find opportunities that others do not even notice. If you stop to think, you will remember moments when you hesitated. You know that proposal that came up, and you kept dragging your feet to respond. That course you wanted to take but postponed. That project you had in mind and kept delaying. Each of those unmade decisions was a growth opportunity you lost. And the detail is that this does not happen dramatically. Nobody notices at the time. Life goes on, days turn into years, and when you realize it, you are living a routine you never truly chose, but that has been shaped by the decisions you did not make. Hill shared a story from his youth when Andrew Carnegie offered him a remarkable proposition to dedicate 2 decades of his life to studying the secrets of success and to write a book that would transform the futures of millions of people. However, there was one important detail. Carnegie wanted Hill to give an answer immediately without overthinking it. Years later, Hill realized that this was actually a test. Carnegie believed that anyone who hesitates in front of a great opportunity does not deserve to lead anything. Hill accepted the challenge on the spot. He had no money, no guarantees, and no idea where it would lead. Had he not decided quickly, you probably wouldn't be hearing these ideas today. You need to understand that decision-making is power. When you make a firm decision, your brain changes. It stops wasting energy considering endless possibilities and begins focusing on execution. This shift alters your body chemistry. Your dopamine levels rise, your self-confidence grows, and you enter a state of action. That is why great entrepreneurs, athletes, and leaders become addicted to deciding, not because they know everything, but because they discovered that clarity does not come before action. It comes afterward. Only those who decide take action, and only those with the courage to face the discomfort of doubt make decisions. Have you ever wondered how many opportunities you missed just because you took too long to act? How many projects have you left unfinished in a drawer? How many brilliant ideas did someone else launch instead of you simply because you were overanalyzing? Life rewards boldness, not excessive caution. If you feel like you are always waiting for the perfect moment, here's a secret. The perfect moment doesn't exist. It never has. The great visionaries, the ones who changed their own lives and the lives of millions, did not act when everything was comfortable. They acted amidst chaos. During the Great Depression, while crowds succumbed to fear, a few determined individuals seized the openings and built fortunes. Because while some wait, others act. Now imagine where your life would be if every time you hesitated, you had decided to move forward. It does not matter whether it would have been the best decision. The worst decision is the one that never happens. Those who move make mistakes, succeed, learn, and grow. Those who wait only accumulate regrets. And now I want to challenge you. For the next 3 days, every time you face a choice, whether big or small, decide immediately. Train your mind to take action. Don't keep asking yourself, what if? Decide. Embrace the discomfort. Because with each decision you make, you will gain momentum, confidence, and you will notice how life responds to those who take a stand. Because in the end, The world belongs to those who decide. No one is above you unless you allow it. Success does not belong to the smartest or the luckiest. It belongs to the decisive. To those who have a burning desire, truly believe in themselves, surround themselves with the right people, and above all, make quick decisions even without guarantees. That is the difference between those who achieve and those who merely dream. If you felt this message speaks directly to you, then don't stop here. Another video is waiting for you on the screen, ready to help you climb one more step on this journey. It is one more step toward becoming 1% better than you are now, and I promise it will make a difference. Thank you very much for being here with me until now. I'll see you in the next video.